Yeah, I already know what it is. It's another Monday. You don't have to be perfect. Y'all see who I snuck in the building?
Tony Ortiz, the designer.
It's going to be a great conversation today.
Where did you share the link to?
YouTube. I'm going to send it to you right now. Oh, hold on. It comes with the winning. When you watch making the money, you're unstoppable from the beginning. Your excuses are useless. Let your actions be. We're about to send this out so Tony's people can get it too.
Tap in, tap in.
Tap in. Tap in. Yes, sir, because we got someone special for y'all tonight. I want to make sure that y'all understand how powerful this is. You know, let me make sure we send this off to Tony and his people, and then we are definitely live.
Allentown.
We are definitely live downtown Allentown, and we are here, ladies and gentlemen. And now you got the link. You know, we are here with the designer, Tony Ortiz. You know, it's been such a blessing, right, to watch you come up. You know, I got to watch you from afar and got to see your progress because of from the very beginning you were connected to people I love. You know,
What was the first design you saw? Alani. Yeah, shout out to Alani J.
Alani J is my brother. So, you know, when I've been literally blessed to almost see you from the beginning. You know,
that's probably around when I started going. I had some stuff on record before then, but yeah, Alani gave me a chance. I was under his umbrella for a couple years. We're still in contact. That man doesn't sleep. My messenger will go off at 4 in the morning if I get up early and I'm working on something, and we exchange ideas still to this day, 15 years later.
People don't realize how amazing Alani is. You know, you know, because people think that he's just um, they don't realize that Alani J, the graphic designer, was also Alani J, the artist.
Yeah.
You know,
he's doing it almost just as long, and he travels all over the world. He's got 12 million followers. He has over 500 million views on one of his videos, drawings. So
what's so funny, right, about Alani is his first million view thing came when he was actually interviewed. He had my son. He was back then, and they both curly haired, handsome men. You know, my son at that time was like 14. Already hit me. He's like, we just got 1 million views. You know, I'm like, what's that feel like? He's like, I don't know. It's the first time. You know, and that's how I felt the first time I actually got to work with your son. You know, your son is probably one of the most amazing young artists. Excuse us as we deal with some technical difficulties.
Yeah, there we go. I was gonna say something about that, but
yeah, we're always on point.
Yeah, shout out to Jaden. He goes by Jadine. He's still trying to figure out if he wants to switch up, but he's got a track on Spotify.
Yes,
he's got yeah. He's got one I really like called The Pain.
So with your son, what I loved about him, and we were talking about his story earlier today. So And we are back. I apologize for the technical difficulties, but that's happening sometimes when you're designing.
You gotta be perfect, man.
Oh my
You gotta
goodness,
be perfect.
that's the greatest this show, right? Is you don't have to be perfect. But why we have you here today is we're really talking about designing the type of life that you want to lead. You know,
Sure.
as a designer, most people don't even really know what you do.
No, that's the thing. And I don't do one thing, but what I feel people know me as, we'll start with where the name Tony Ortiz, the designer, came out. That's what everyone know me as. I had an LLC in my 20s, and nobody could remember the name of it. You know, it was Avue. People couldn't pronounce it. So when I rebranded as Tony Ortiz, the designer, it's like, people even think I design clothes, but it's not graphic design. It's like you said, even down to the life that you want to create. It's just creating something out of nothing, creating opportunities for other people, you know, um, all around creator. But that's what I set out to do, or at least knew that I wanted to do since about 12 or 13.
That's awesome.
And made a name for myself with graphic design. Have some work right. We're downtown in the Moxie. I have some work downtown that's out on the street, and it was a big goal of mine to see something that I had designed on a computer just in real life. And even though I've done that hundreds of times, it's still really cool to, kind of create something, see something be brought to life. But yeah, perpetual learner, you know.
I love that you said for someone who's thinking about becoming a designer or a creator, you said that you just wanted to see something that you created come to life. You know, and it can
Printed.
yes, and I love you said print. It could come to life in so many different ways, right? It can be a print card,
Yeah, even just posting something now.
and you have seen your work in billboards,
Yeah,
right?
all the way up to the Lincoln Tunnel. We had a billboard with BB King, rest in peace. But worked with this press team, put together, and that was a crazy story. Even running into the billboard, I'm at a networking mixer, and I'm talking to a woman. I'm telling her what I do, and I didn't know that her husband was the market director of, an agency that later that week would end up with the Sands Event Center. Before it was the Wind Creek, it was the Sands.
Yes, sir.
And his wife said, "You should talk to that kid. Like, you should give him a chance." We bid for the job, and I won. Like, it was I don't know that I would have. It was I was in a position that I could on free work just try. I was in a position where I could spend a whole day and turn it over that day that they asked for it, and it led to some really cool opportunities. But yeah, I didn't see the billboard. I didn't go to Lincoln Tunnel to see it,
Really?
but I knew the placement was there. No, I had newspaper articles. That one was cool. Seeing the stuff, in printed pieces. I don't know how much views the newspaper would get nowadays.
Right, the newspapers changed so much. The game has changed so much. But what I love for you is that you talked about that creative piece, right? That one piece. Because I think a lot of us focus on doing so much that we forget all it takes is one piece of art, one work, and we have something started, you
Yeah,
know.
you gotta treat every piece like that. But going back to your question about what would I say to anybody wanting to start a life in design, I mean, there's so many tools nowadays to be able to put something together. Everybody's a video creator. Everybody can learn to tell a story. You don't have to be a genius to work the tools nowadays. You can edit video on a cell phone. So it's like you can decide what niche and what projects. I'm luckily at a place where I can kind of choose stuff that I want to work on, stuff that interests me, kind of like legacy pieces. But in the beginning, everybody you can own and somebody needs your services. So I think the market, people say that there's no market in creative or AI. Everybody's worried about AI. Yeah, this conversation might not age well. In 2 years, there might not be. But I think that AI is just going to be another tool that creators can use to tell a story. Telling stories is a very human thing. It's never going to get old. So it's more than just art. Like when you're designing, you got to realize people don't. It's like when you get a haircut. You know, like how you just feel better. Like you might have
Hmm.
done better in the interview now that you had the haircut. When you have a great logo, a great brand, it's thought out. People know you invested in it. It's like expensive clothing. It really hits home. So I would say don't. I don't think people really get into design for the money. Like you can make a living with creative services. Um, but you have to love it. Like
Hmm.
it's gonna beat you up. It's a tough field. It's like even now sometimes sleeping, it takes very long to do. And I think that everything is built brick by brick. You mentioned that one piece. Like you gotta treat every piece like that. Like did you play sports?
Of course, I was a basketball player.
Basketball player. So did you practice the same way that you did in the game?
Yup,
Like
I did everything at game speed. That's why I was
you
always
have
ready.
to. Like if you go and schlub it through practice, like you can't just half-ass it and then all of a sudden you're going to get the big chance and you just do good for that one. Like I did, spending an hour and a half to make $20 for a business card design. Like it was still, it may have led to other things, it may have not, but you got to put your all into it. So
Yes, I don't want to. I don't want to miss that, right? Because I think a lot of us don't get what we want out of life because we don't put enough into what we want in life, right? So we fall short because we didn't treat that last piece like it was the last piece, you
yeah,
know.
yeah.
And I love that you said that, giving it your all. What made you start? Was that something you always did, or is that something that you grew into?
Designing.
Or just giving it your all when you're doing, designing or anything else?
Uh, well, like on your theme of you don't have to be perfect, I would say I probably go too hard. Like I wouldn't want to use me as the expectation. So I was probably always like that. I mean, I I was always competitive. I was always definitely competitive. I feel a little bit less so now, but it's like what's your driving factor? I want to do this, I want to show. It's like if you're into music and you're in your teens and that's what you want to do, who's to tell you you can't spend all your time doing that? So I was about 12, 13. I was lucky enough to have a personal computer in our house, and
Mm.
I started messing around with Photoshop and putting together a Sonic the Hedgehog website. And it's crazy, working with other teenagers from across the world and figuring out where they are on the map. My mom had no idea what I was doing. She
Mm.
was just like, spend time doing that. I went to college for it and ultimately dropped out, but it was the path I wanted to go. I didn't think I'd be doing it this long. I'm glad it's evolved into other things, video, motion graphics, and stuff. But
Podcasting.
yeah, no, podcasting. Um, but even before podcasting, when I made music, thank you so much. When I made music, it was like something just takes over and you put all your time into something and you have faith. I don't start something thinking it's going to be a few months or trying it. I spend a long time building. I spent a long time like doesn't have to be perfect, but you have to be like a student of the game. Like
Mm-hmm.
there's no if you buy the $5,000 camera, you're not going to be putting movies out the first time you turn it on. Like
That's
you're
true.
probably going to mess up some footage. You're going to be scared to hold it. Like it's you have to take it piece by piece, brick by brick, and get into where you have to go. So like You can't let anybody tell you no. There's literally no barrier to entry anymore to almost anything you
Hmm.
want to do. Like,
I love that because now there've actually been full motion pictures that gone to box office that have been filmed off a cell phone. Like they've gone from
yeah,
iPhone to theater.
no, the cameras on these things are crazy, but it's like, all right. So I'll give you an example. I got into video professionally, but I had people don't know I have been editing for 8 to 10 years. I have the whole business with motion graphics. I know video. The camera is a newer tool, but I took classes for at least a year, bought accessories before the camera. So that's how much of a student of the game was. Like, before I used a big gimbal to stabilize the
Hmm.
camera, I had the same one she's using for the cell phone, practicing for 2, 3 years, doing free work at events. It's like, people will say, they say, like, year 3000 where they celebrate your overnight success. It's like
Hmm.
people think you came out of nowhere, but it's like, no, champions are made when nobody's watching. Like, you got to put the same effort when nobody's watching as you have to do it. I still get lazy. Earlier today, I was like, clip's good, let me export it. Now, actually, let me watch it again. And there was a mistake. So it would have been like, if I would have sent that to the client, not only would it have been a mistake, but now it's going to come back. So, like, you just can't, it shows in anything you do, the level of preparation that you put into it. You could be good at winging things and do it. Like, I can tell you this, you're never going to have all the tools that you need.
Hmm.
But as far as these cameras, when you get into like using them, you still got to know lighting. You still got to know how the camera works, how to shoot it, load different types of angles. They didn't just pick up they try to sell you the story that you could just take a cell phone and make a movie. It's not entirely true. Like,
Hmm.
I get the message they're trying to push. I know people that in their kitchen, no lighting and a cell phone, tens of thousands, 50,000 plus views, just explaining how to use Snapchat or something. Shout out to Emilio Mills, actor creator out of California. But we were big on pushing that maybe 8 to 10 years ago, before cell phones could do everything. Now you could get a little creator kit, 100 bucks, and put together great film, but you still got to learn the technique. You still got to be a student of the game. There's no
and and
shortcuts when
and
it
I
comes to
love
that.
that you keep pressing being a student of the game because I've seen you invest in yourself to go to classes. I saw you invest in yourself because I'm always watching and never watching at the same time.
Yeah, yeah.
So I seen you invest in yourself to go down and get some lessons from Jack Nine.
Florida,
Yeah,
yeah. Shout out to
yes,
Jack Nine.
and that was huge because I was to watch where Josh is now
Yeah,
to where he was, and he still wears that 610 on his arm. You
yeah.
know,
He
so
was. He was. I talked to him a couple years ago. I was maybe 34, 35, and that was the age he was when he picked up a camera. So it's like, yeah, there's people who have had cameras since they're 2, 3, 4. Like, that's cool. It could be a new thing, even like photography. I have done it professionally, but it never really clicked as something I want to learn. The joy to me that comes out of life, the designing, is like, I can learn something brand new, and I'm less focused on the video because there's a new wave coming. I'm talking about it on my podcast when I drop it, but vibe coding with AI, using a computer to build out programs and apps. You don't have to know code, you just have to know a problem you're trying to solve, and you got to be willing to be patient to build it out. So, this is going to be, when they say prompt engineers and vibe coders and all that are going to be a sought out job, why wouldn't you go for somebody who can solve a solution, make a product for in a couple hours versus taking to be nuts. So the fact that that takes a while, that you're going to stumble across the way, you're going to have to learn different pieces, you have to be patient. That excites the hell out of me. Like I bought a gimbal without knowing how to use the one before I even had a camera, and I'm like, I have no idea how to. I showed up to my first shoot. I had no idea how to balance it or anything, but I practiced with it before I went out and started charging people. I'm like, okay, this is really good. I still don't even know everything with it, but you you use the tools you have at the time. I've had my camera die at an event, and I pull my cell phone out and I just like set it at the on the camera and kind of just like make it look like I'm not recording on the cell phone. But you throw that footage in, and nobody says, "Oh, that was a cell phone shot." Like, I think people get hung up when they think about the tools that you need to do it. Like,
I love you
no
say that.
barrier of entry. I don't. There's no gate. I think there's enough work out there. I've never really ran into a problem with another designer taking work, or I don't know.
And I love that you say that because I think a lot of what holds back business owners, what holds back other creators is the need for competition. So I'm competitive to a point where I want to be better than I was yesterday, but I'm
Hmm.
not competing where I will not lose. Like
Yeah. Oh
I
yeah. Podcast competition.
or
That's
or or
hilarious.
or
Yeah.
or anything that Tony the designer is doing. I'm in no competition with you because I can never be as good as being you at you. But you can never be as great at being Paz as Paz. So I'm
Yeah.
comfortable, right, being me, right, and enjoying me so that I can celebrate you. Um, in the Buddhist uh, custom, they say namaste, right? That
Yeah.
means,
Thank you.
to celebrate the
The
deity
light within
within.
you. Yeah.
Yeah. So, that's all I could do, right? I can see your greatness and celebrate that, you
Yeah.
know. And I love that you're talking about for others, right? That need to consistently improve. I think, and maybe I'm wrong, and you can give me your insight. A lot of us miss the mark by being stuck on yesterday's points instead of learning today and preparing for tomorrow.
Yeah. I mean, even be a little lighter on the prep for tomorrow. Like, you really got to be in the now. Like, it's taking a step back, you know, 15, 16, 17 years in the game. It's way different than it was any game, video, any of that. Anything that I do, writing, new tools have come along and completely changed the game. So you got to kind of be able to recognize patterns. Those patterns are happening way faster now. You go and you every 90 days there's new AI tools coming out, new workflows. People don't realize that no matter what I've touched, digital marketing, I'm in my email and newsletters, reading articles about it, seeing what's up in the industry. I still keep up with what companies are rebranding, what does the style look like. And I think you touched on it. You said a lot of business owners. You have content creators, you have business owners, you have people that treat what they do like a, and you're constantly thinking how to grow it. I'm not the best designer, you know what I mean? And especially when you go onto the internet or anything like that. But there's also really, really good creators, designers, videographers that are thirsty for work. Like, they're posting beautiful work, trying to get work. And it's like, okay, maybe there's more to it than the service itself, you know? And that was part of the rebrand. Tony Ortiz, the designer, you can Google it, you can ask ChatGPT about it, and that's all about brand. My
Mm-hmm.
reputation is in what I feel is going to be the tools of tomorrow. I think people are going to be AI like they are Google or
Mm-hmm.
whatnot. So, um, I don't want to say staying ahead of the curve, you can't predict the future, but how can you prepare for what nobody a year ago could have prepared for VEO3, the Google thing. Like, did you see some of the videos? It's video and sound.
Yes.
So you're talking about
Yes.
creating something that would normally take multiple people and
Mhm.
hours. That's going to shift industries, regardless of how people feel about it or whether or not it should. It's already
Yeah.
transformed my business, but most of what I do is thinking about the system. What work do I have to bring in? Who's like, what's next on the table? And you're only ever a few months out of knowing what's really to come. I may have a contract for the rest of the year or until October, November, and uh, it's interesting. I don't know. I don't want to say I don't think about it too hard because I found a way to keep it consistent,
Hmm.
but you got to commit. Like, if you want to do it for the love, just find nonprofits and do it for the love. There's always somebody that'll take free work as well
Hmm.
too. But if you want to do a business and pay taxes on it, and like it, you can't treat it like a hustle. You can't
Hmm.
treat it like you're selling drugs and just worry about quick flip. It's like, systems can I create? How can I predict revenue? How can I, even what should my prices be? Should I charge by the hour? How do I feel people out? And the networking, like, if you think you're just going to post good work and people are just going to come to you for anything, it's like you just you're not respecting how much it takes to be known as something, to even be pigeonholed as something, to go all in, like you said. How do you do that? I don't know.
And find a brand that makes sense for you, right? Like you said, and going all in and being pigeonholed. You see a lot of actors, right? Later in life, can't find work because they've been pigeonholed, right? But in business, right, can you find that niche that allows you to have that pigeonhole but still be able to pivot? Like my expertise is happiness,
Mm-hmm.
right? But in the happiness, I teach appreciation and gratitude, which is necessary for businesses, right? Because
Yeah.
if a business, right, has a whole bunch of disgruntled employees, you're not going to get the best product,
Yeah, it's
right?
like your body being stressed. Your whole cellular structure is off. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you, no, the gratitude. One of my favorite quotes is like, gratitude brings happiness, not the other way around. Like, you don't
Mm-hmm.
have to be happy to be grateful. I constantly say, like, thank you. I get to wake up, like you said, designing the life I live. So I'll wake up, put some work into a contract, walk the dog, go through normal routines, things like that. I work every evening, every single evening. Around noon, I'm checking email, going through things like that. But there's always a proposal to write, there's always something to revise, there's always somebody new to meet. And you can set up systems and say, I'm meeting this on Tuesday or things, but 4 days a week, I have a main contract, and then I move on to podcasting on Fridays. And I would say working at my own pace and controlling my energy. The biggest thing I've learned just in business and life recently, it's like, it may look like there's no work life balance if you're constantly working. But if I'm working, taking breaks, fueling my body, I used to be big into taking a run during uh, during the day. I don't do that so much anymore, but I do train jujitsu on weekends
Okay.
and help them put together videos just at the gym as a way to give my talents to something that I believe in and something that has that community. So it's like, if I can run a business, run a podcast, be a dedicated member of multiple teams for different agencies, and all of them know I come into it with, look, this is my availability, this is the time I can be communicated. You know, if I choose to work on a Sunday evening, that's fine, but don't call for a meeting. You know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
have I met with people on a Sunday? Sure. Like sometimes you have to do business, not have time that week or that Monday. But like I said, it's a choice. Nothing's sticking me to having to do it or having to work on. I can manage my own workload. I can work pretty much from anywhere. I was thinking of this. We're at the Moxie now. I was thinking of bringing my book bag
It's
and I
my
can set
favorite
up.
office.
But
Yeah,
yeah, like that was all intentional. I want to
yeah.
be able to travel with my stuff. Even the idea of working from the internet was all in design. If I move out of the valley, I want to have a skill that I'm not tied to a physical location.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, everything you got to think, you got to plan. You can't predict the future, but you have to, like, you printing is a perfect example. You know
Mm-hmm.
how long they've been saying print is dead,
Mm-hmm.
but everywhere you look something's printed. That
Mm-hmm.
graffiti on the wall, like that's
Mm-hmm.
probably, that might be actual graffiti, but you got logos on the umbrellas. I see the Te Amo sign from here. There's
Yeah.
like a Japanese sunburst.
There's menus in
Every
here.
wrapper, you go in the
Yeah.
grocery store, everything is printed.
Yeah.
So print evolves and changes. The
Yeah.
printers that went out of business are the ones say, okay, we could tie this to digital. We could use QR codes.
Yes.
The form changes. If you get blindsided, it wasn't that the world changed around you. Like it's gonna change. What do you expect? I don't know what people. I've never seen anything that maybe accounting where you could just have a 25, 30 year run doing the exact same thing
Even that's
every
changed
year.
now. Because
Yeah, yeah,
I have friends. I have friends. I have an accountant. Right. So
yeah.
even that has changed significantly. You know. But I love that we talk about you know being in the moment because the present is a gift that too many of us miss, right? Because we're either, like you said, too focused in the future or too trapped in the past than to enjoy this exact moment. You know, I've,
Hmm.
in talking about creating a life that you you design the life that you want to live, you know, I've learned to get into the moment. You know,
Hmm.
and I say that as the worst multitasker in the world because my team's always on me. I have a computer open, my phone in my hand, especially since the pandemic. Right, you can be on two Zoom calls. Right, it
Listen, I
is.
was gonna
It's.
take a picture, not to interrupt you, but I had. So I've posted my workstation. I have the three screens there.
Mm-hmm.
I had the laptop to the left with some other screens, just because I didn't have the password set up, and then I had a Steam Deck, which is like a little gaming slash laptop. Had that going out to a screen with its own little keyboard and mouse, and had that running programs while I was working on the other two. The big one's for creation. This one is for checking Google Ads and stuff. And my wife comes downstairs and she just looks at me. And while I had all three of them open using them, I'm also on my phone because I had to unlock something on the one. And I'm just sitting here like I got like six devices around me. It's insane. But I joke I'm building a bat cave. Like if I why? I mean, and tell me why not?
Why
If you
not?
have a device that's made for gaming but doubles up as a laptop, why not figure out how to stream it? Why
Mm-hmm.
not figure out how to make like a whole rig that's connected to the camera that you could stream the podcast or put
Mm-hmm.
whatever. Like,
And that makes so much sense because life has changed, right? Like I was telling somebody the other day, if you're over 40, right,
hmm
you remember the Jetsons and you
yeah,
remember the Terminator. We are we're living in those times. Like, you know, Spacely Sprockets is just a Zoom call, right? Like him talking to Mr.
Yeah.
Spacely. We have flying cars. They may not be as prevalent, but we do have flying cars.
Yeah, you might not be in the clouds yet, but the robots, we have robots
Where
that can clean houses.
we are,
Hey, Rosie, it doesn't look like it did in the Jetsons, like where everything was future, but
yeah.
yeah, no. You could remember when things were big enough to take apart, and you could figure out how they worked. I mean, maybe not everybody was a tinkerer, but everyone I know took a radio apart at some point and see what
Mm-hmm.
was on the inside. You can't
Mm-hmm.
take an iPhone apart. Like, I don't even know where the screws are. Like, I have no idea how to take apart. You gotta like use special tools, but no, I remember my son was young, and I tried to explain to him that people don't always use video calls. Like people used to just use voice. That didn't compute to him. He's like, that doesn't make sense. I don't know if they realize the kids now how disruptive AI is going to be because they don't really like let them use it in school like
Mm-hmm.
that. And some of them are messing with it, but yeah, I mean, the now, going back to the now, is so important. Like even during this interview, focusing on my breath, looking at the little uplighting and
Mm-hmm.
stuff that you have going on, it's, I think they say what anxiety comes from the future, fear comes from the future, anxiety comes from the past, or when you're trying to be in two places at once. I don't know about you, I get really anxious. Like if I can't be in the now, or I'm waiting on a phone call, or I have to go somewhere suddenly, all of a sudden it's like it just takes away from it. So
Yeah, I think the only time I feel like that is with the kids. I've come to come into control of myself and my anxiousness. No, fear. I don't even believe in. Right, fear is just false evidence appearing real, or it makes you face everything and rise. So you get to choose. Once you realize, um, God rest his soul. My mentor Bernie Dorman said to me one time. He said, you have to know the difference between fear and danger."
mhm.
He said he said fear tells you not to jump off a cliff. Danger shows you not to jump off a cliff without the parachute. You know what I mean? If you don't
Yeah,
have, you have a parachute on and everything else is, if you're prepared, you can jump. Danger says, "Hold on, I have no parachute. I'm still gonna jump." Like we have to know the difference, so we're not paralyzed, in where we are. You know, I thank God, that I've always been short, funny looking, with big glasses. Right? People like, huh? How do you think? It made me learn how to communicate because I couldn't rely just on my looks.
yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know, it made me have to learn how to use my vision because I couldn't rely on my eyesight. Right? And it just made me have to be able to adapt. Where if I was tall, dark and handsome, as like my brother, it may have made me have to do something different, right? So I thank God for, Jim Jones said it best, right? He says I do a great job of turning my negatives into a positive.
For sure, man.
You
For
know,
sure. You gotta you gotta like fight with your body type. Like
hmm
nobody, you're not gonna fight the other guy's fight. Like you gotta figure it out. It was it's funny when I wrestled in high school. I didn't look like anybody that wrestled. You know what I mean? And I was always like, man, I wish I had a short, stubby body, and I'd be heavier and harder to move, and I'd do better in this sport and stuff. And I don't know, man. It's you gotta. I feel like the being driven, the overworking, it's like a superpower.
hmm
Like I talk to friends and stuff like that. And like, what are you doing? Well, I'm just pushing through. I'm trying to get this done, and it'll be like it's not workaholism. It's more like I got into business, so I would always be available when my kids have
Mm-hmm.
a game or something like that. And it's like I can be working, either take my daughter to work, pick her up, take my son to camp with you guys or
Mm-hmm.
something. And like Jaden sprained his ankle last week. Had to go to the ER at like 10:30, and he's sleeping in the ER waiting for the doctor, and on I'm creating troubleshooting tips on ChatGPT to help somebody out with their email because I can there. Like that's now you start hitting me up at 12:30 every day, then I got to just stay away from that energy. Part of designing the life you want, like I said, it's not just choosing clients, but who do you want to give energy to? Who do you want to take energy from? Like
Mm-hmm.
certain energy likes itself. Like they say, like misery loves company,
Mm-hmm.
but people who won't respect your boundaries, people who, you know, just kind of bully or push or want to constantly take from you, like that's the other thing. You need for your mental state to be valued. So whatever you choose to do, if you're going to create or anything like that, don't put yourself in a position where you're constantly being gaslit, constantly being put down. Like, unless you have a source over here to pull it from, if you if you have to follow somebody's directions or even clients, that's fine. But like my podcast is my creation, and I said it doesn't have to be perfect. There's mistakes, there's things. I had a camera die last time. I'm going to deal with that early this week with editing and cutting that up, but I don't have to worry about what sponsor says. I don't have to, there's people who don't know I have a podcast. There's people who think the podcast is bigger than it is. Um, People who don't care, but it's mine.
Mm-hmm.
It's owned, and I can say that I created every piece of it.
Mm-hmm.
So that gives me a confidence in these other areas of my life where it might be sucked away or something.
I think you said some things that are very key, right? In designing the life that you want, not just designing the business that you want, but making sure you have the people that you want in your life. It's okay to let go of people who no longer serve where you're going. You know, um, I work with gang members, and one of the things I remind them all the time is just because you grew up with them don't mean you have to stay with them. You know what I mean? Like people grow apart.
Hmm.
Interests change.
For
Like you
sure.
asked me, was I an athlete? Yes, I was a great basketball player. Rucker Park. Ask about me. Do I care at 50 the same way? No. Two knee surgeries. If someone
Yeah,
asks
yeah,
me to play the one-on-one, I'm gonna laugh at you. I'm like,
yeah,
I'm 50, my knees hurt.
yeah,
No,
yeah, yeah.
not doing that. But 19-year-old Paz, would have taken every challenge, and wouldn't have worried about it. So also knowing who you are at the moment versus who you were.
For
You
sure.
know what I mean?
It's crazy to me to think that I don't rap. It's crazy to me to think like that was my whole world, and it was like it's funny. I'll go back and listen like music that I forgot I put out. Someone will find it, be like, "Is this?" Somebody asked me today, "Is this you?" Found a track that I did with Gallo, and it's funny. You take one thing. I think it's very important to take things one to another. What I mean by that is like if you had like what can you take from rap? You can take presence, you can take stage performance, you can
Mm-hmm.
take the ability to speak, to expand your vocabulary. Nothing, at least I mean early 2000s, late 90s, nothing expanded your vocabulary like, battle rap and just
Uh,
looking words up to have more tools. So you can go and leave something but still say like, okay, well, even if I'm not doing a ton of logos or brands right now, it still lets me know. So if I get into clothing, I understand screen printing because I've applied it and set the prints up for somebody else. Like, I keep going back to design as an example, but if you
Mm-hmm.
bus tables and you serve, like you mentioned multitasking,
Mm-hmm.
like you have to do that to bartend or anything like that. So, you know, um,
That's
people
a
know I
skill set,
bartended.
right? And, and
Yeah.
and I think a lot of times we poo past our skill sets. You know, I love that you talk about rapping. You know that you used
Hmm.
to rap because um, what nothing changed, right? You just actually the creativity just went to something else or refocused. You know, I've been blessed. And most people don't know I was a rapper. You know what I mean? Like, but my original demo tape growing up in Harlem, I had Cam, Mace, everyone. Like, they were in the neighborhood. They were on my basketball team. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
My old DJ's like, hey, you remember this song with you and Cam? I was like, no. It's like I
Yeah.
still have it. You know,
Yeah.
so to know that create those creative energies don't die.
Right.
They
Right.
get transformed, sometimes transmuted into something else that allows us to still be productive and give to this world. You know, I think a lot of rappers, what happens is they grow old in their head and they forget
Mm.
how to give. You know, where if you didn't make it, and sometimes the beauty of not making it as a big time rapper is that you're able to continue to create in new ways. So what do you think in your situation? Do you think not becoming the star that others may have seen you allowed you to become a star in your home, your community, and your business in a way that you needed it?
I mean, I think it all depends on what you consider a success or doing. I mean, if you're talking about world fame, if you're talking about, I mean, I think for a lot of musicians, they just want to be able to create longer and more. And you get to an age where creating takes away from the income and the things
Mm-hmm.
that you can do. And depending on what you're trying to do in your career or anything, rap doesn't always fit with that. I talking to a buddy, Seth. We're at a networking mixer. He sells insurance. He was working on being an agency as a partner, and
Mm-hmm.
there's certain people at the mixer you can say, oh, yeah, I know him from when we used to make music. He's like, yeah, I sing and rap. But he's not going to bust out a freestyle at the speed networking event. Does that make sense? It
Makes
does.
tons of sense.
In college, it was great. You spit something, and that kind of gave a fame or a name. So it's not that people were like, "Oh man, that guy quit or did this," but it's like, what do you measure as success? Like
Yeah.
to be able to do it all the time. Like if I want to, I can spend time making music now, but uh, I don't know. It's I think it's a little messed up when people are like, "Oh, you never made it, you never did this." It's like, dudes got kids, a house, a wife, like has a whole life, and you guys are worried about he's not
A
on this and
rapper.
this show or a
Yes.
rapper and stuff. I mean, it's like, what do you want to succeed in what you do? If I would have stuck with it more, like I switched from audio engineering to doing mostly visual creation. Who
Mm-hmm.
knows if I would have stuck with audio engineering, I might have been better at that than even at rapping. I might have a sound that people seek out. But I don't know. I mean, I was even designing when I was rapping. I got into designing for rap. Like I designed my album
Album
cover. I
covers.
still I still design a ton of album covers. Shout out to Gil Thompson. The guy just posted the other day. We had like 15 of them, and I forget about them. I'm on Spotify and I go to his page, and the whole thing is artwork I did. And there's ones that I forget, and I'm like, oh yeah, I guess for like 15 years, every year he's put out an album. We my first podcast with Gil Thompson about this very topic. So you're not Jay Z, yeah, but I got over the death of my mom through writing and therapy and put out a complete album with her favorite color on it and stuff. You don't think that people get something from rap if they don't get famous?
I mean,
Like there's so much that
the,
it gives to you in giving
mm-hmm,
back and inspiring others and a way
mm-hmm,
to express your soul. Like,
yes,
so I didn't get in debt with a label and be forced to make music. Like I got to
yes.
leave on my own terms. Kind of
And the great thing about understanding um the music industry, I've been blessed to spend 25 years of my life in the music industry. The greatest thing about understanding that is most artists never see freedom, right?
mm,
So when you're
yeah,
designing a
Wayne's
life,
still making music.
yeah, you
He
know,
must love that. Lil Wayne.
oh, his situation is different, right?
Yeah,
They make music because they love making music.
for sure.
Like Jay will come back and make a song because he loves making music. Like
Will
Will
Smith
Smith,
got no reason to
right?
be
Like
making
he never
music,
has
but
to make another out. Like what I mean, like
he
they've
seems like he's
established
having fun.
themselves, his places, careers. You know,
Yeah,
so there are people who are. You can tell there's still a real passion for what they do. I think the greatest thing for any of us, right, is to be able to be passionate about what we do every single day.
yeah, for sure, for
Whether
sure.
you are, a designer or a janitor, scrub that toilet like your life depends on it with a smile, right?
Yeah, if you can get into something comfortable that you wake up, or even just that you're good at. Maybe you're the best at cleaning toilets or whatever. It's like, okay, but you're never stuck in a position. See, one of the things, I was lucky enough to be laid off at like 19 from Circus City, and I never really regained faith in like having a job forever. So it was always something, just like take skills from one thing to another. You take things from one job, things you learned at a job from one thing to another. Like
Mm-hmm.
my first access to Hollywood level video equipment was through a job. Only had
Mm-hmm.
that job for like a year or two, but it
Mm-hmm.
put me in touch with things. It gave me the confidence to do it, to invest in my own equipment. So I don't know. I mean, you you never know. You never know what's gonna lead to the next thing. Like that, you kind of got to be in the now. Like it's scary if I think about what AI could do. What if what I love turns into something that just 14-year-olds do on an app on their phone, and there's no demand and no career path for me? Like, you don't think I think about that? Like it's
And it's so funny, right? Like I said, I deal with, I coach in the prison community. So one of the things they they used to say was life changes every 5 years. So if you were in prison for 5 years, it's like losing 20. Now, because life is changing so quickly, being in prison for 6 months can put you 20 years behind. Because the advent of AI, we're now in Web 3.0. There's so many things that are changing that you can't afford to be disconnected. Where you could go away when, if you were alive during the invention of the computer, right? You can go away during that time, and that would be okay. You cannot lose. If I, my ex-wife was in a coma last year, which is how this show started. My ex-wife was in a coma for 72 days, and then I helped bring her back to life. You know, and once we didn't do business for 6 months. Because we're basically keeping her alive, keeping the family afloat.
mm,
Thank God for residual income,
mm,
and great clients. You know, so we didn't really do anything for 6 months, and then one of my mentors said, "Just get started again." I'm like, "What do you?" I'm like, What do I do?" He's like, "Something." I'm like,
yeah,
"What's something?" He's like, "Something." So I wound up doing this web show. Was only supposed to be for 7 days. We're now on season 2. Like we're gonna do something every day for 7 days, and then people like this is helping. Can you
Yeah,
continue?
for sure.
And how do you tell someone no? That was only 7 days. Screw you. I'm done helping. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
So it took on a life of its own. By just being
yeah. You
myself,
can't you
right?
can't put effort into something and people don't catch on. I was telling one of my clients that the other day, like, he put out a show and cut the whole thing up himself, taught himself to edit, taught himself to live stream, bought the equipment. Because I'm like, he knows I do this for money, and he did hire me for certain stuff. He just had me a week or two to kind of tweak and show him how to do stuff, but he's not gonna. I don't like working with people that just want to, even if it's a big check, just want me to get it done. It's like you gotta have some, like, if I build a website for you, you gotta at least want to maintain it or grow it on your own. Like, if you're
Mm-hmm.
just paying me because you don't want to do it, but I don't know. I think we can start landing the plane. We're coming up on an hour. Is there any like main question or topic that you wanted to
Well,
get off?
I think we've been designing the life and designing the show, but because the time goes by so quickly, I want you to make sure that you give people, if you're looking for new clients, or
Yeah,
because I got it,
for sure.
because this guy here
Yeah,
may
no,
not be,
there's
you may not be able to hire this dude. You know what I mean? But how would you like people to get in touch with you? How would you like them to get in contact, if that, or would you like them to follow your podcast?
no. Well, you can find me on social at To the Designer, like at To the Designer. My initials Tony Ortiz, To the Designer. That's Instagram, across everything. You can find me on TikTok at To the Designer. I will not lose podcast.com. That'll link you to any one of the 30 platforms that I will not lose podcast is on. If you prefer video, there's YouTube. And then just like the tag at To the Designer, tothedesigner.com has all my commercial work services. But I didn't come to sell.
Yeah, but
When do I post ever that, I'm easy to get a hold of. People who are interested in the work. I don't just fill a void for a graphic designer. I help solve real problems. I build brands. I can take months on a project to launch something, but you could take it from a blank sheet of paper to a full website with a custom logo, a Google My Business profile, everything linked together, you know, and you got to be serious about what you're doing to do it.
hmm
You just want something to make a free Facebook page. It may not go all the way, and you may not like my pricing for something just to try or see, but I consult for free. I mean, as long as it's not specific consultation, I help people all the time. I give free advice out all the
so
time.
he's better than me. I do not consult for free.
Hmm.
You have to pay me unless you're a youth. I consult children for free. You
For
know,
sure.
but and it's different though, right? And we can laugh at that. My company is consulting. So if I
Hmm.
consulted everyone for free, someone's like, yeah, when you like, huh? Like here's the
Yeah.
bill.
No,
Like
strategy is a little different. I
hmm
charge for strategy, but if
okay,
somebody wants to know which website platform
yeah,
to go
yeah,
on,
that's
which
different.
is the best for them, we could do a 15-minute phone call. You can follow me on social. I post how I do stuff all the time. You know, it's not, I'm not going to gatekeep information.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you want me to use my tools to do market research for you and give you that for free, that's different. You want to put together a logo and go over the questionnaire, there's a cost that goes towards your balance. So
Mm-hmm.
it's really just more like I literally do not have the time. There's people right now waiting a week and a half for me to get back to them and set up a time. So I can't just be on the phone at any given time. Somebody texts me to call them right before this, and it's like, okay, I may be here working late tonight, but somebody wants, because those people come back.
Mm-hmm.
woman was getting married. She called me 3, 4 months ago. She says, I'm going to be reaching out in like 7, 8 months. I just wanted to talk to you to see if you're the person. What am I going to tell her? Well, send me your Cash App and like pay for this consultation. No, like just pay me in 6, 7 months when you get it together. So
Planting a
yeah,
great seed, and I
yeah,
love that. And I think that's something that where we can possibly park us at. You know, planting a great seed. I think a lot of us miss a chance to grow the garden because we haven't planted a great seed.
yeah, yeah,
We expect everything to grow wild, but we never planted a great seed. I love that you talked about a number of ways you planted great seeds along the way. You did work for free when you needed to learn something new.
hmm
You listen before you charge, right? You find out if you match before you take on a client. Those are all things that plant great seeds for even greater business. And I think, that's why you're able right now to design the type of life that you want to lead. You know, does it come with some work? Yeah.
it's a lot of work. But you know what? You got to decide what it is you want. You want to be working. You want to be known. You want to be famous. You know, like I know marketing. I could do the fame. I could come up with a podcast talking about who the top 5 rappers in Allentown are and have them come on and battle. We could get numbers, but I choose to tell stories. I choose to inspire people and do that sort of thing. You know, not chase the virality or the fame or to have the best design, or I want to be able to say I worked with cool people. I want to have control over my time. If I want to go Saturday mornings and train jujitsu, if I want to train on a Friday, I want to be able to do that.
Hmm.
And if I want to work at 11 p.m. instead of playing video games, I don't see a problem with it.
I love all of those things, right? Because someone right now is looking to define their freedom,
Hmm.
and they don't know what that looks like. And you gave them some tools. Like me, I choose to volunteer to food bank, twice a week.
You
It
mentioned
keeps,
residual income, so
yeah,
that powers the ability to
yeah, yeah. Uh,
do other things. It's
Residual income is something that is two powerful words someone said to me a long time ago. He said, "Does your money work for you or do you work for your money?" And I said, "Huh?" He said, "Residual income. Do you have money coming in every month that you don't think about?" And I said, "No, sir. How do we
yeah,
do that?"
yeah,
and,
yeah.
and, and from that point forward, I've always made sure we have some form of residual income. Is it my main income stream? Not usually,
Yeah, that takes a while.
you
That
know,
takes a while to build up.
but it's an income stream I was able to survive on when everything went wrong, when I had to focus in on family,
Hmm.
right? Because I did build a base and I do have a set of customers that we don't talk about. We just talk
Yeah,
to, right?
yeah, for sure.
There are people that we service, right? And there are clients and customers we don't talk about. We just talk to.
Not even because we don't want to. There's paperwork involved, and that's why, like when I say not running your business like a drug dealer, it's like you sign a non-disclosure agreement like before you even do the meeting, before you get a check. If you're about to get a check, if you're about to hear what a company's working on, that means you can't post it. So people don't realize for the last year or so I've been doing a lot of non-disclosure work, stuff that people aren't going to hear about for another year or two. So
Mm-hmm.
it's interesting as you grow and get up the levels. There's some designers that haven't posted anything in 10 years, but it's cool because I set the business plan out. I set a target market, and for at least the last 3 years, I'm attracting the clients I want to in the market. I want them to be at the rate that I calculated to quote unquote live the life I live. So,
That's
you know,
designing the life you want to lead. That's
yeah,
awesome.
100% self-employed on taxes. Um, and that's cool. Some people, to some people, that's freedom to be able to just say, all right, cool, I'm on this, whether it's through music or it doesn't even have to be through creation. You start your own accounting business. Shout out
No.
to the accountants.
Like I said, I know a lady who, like, when we talk about cleaning toilets, she said, "I'm the best toilet cleaner." So she started a commode cleaning business. You know what I mean? So she
Yeah,
goes to, let me clean your porta potty. You know what I mean? And has
that's
her and her
crazy.
team.
That's a
You
wild
know, most
business.
people don't want to clean a porta potty. Like, she's like, the messier the better. I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah, that's nuts.
You know what I mean? But she realized she had a skill, a talent, and
Hmm.
she capitalized off of it. You know, we can all see something that we're good at and decide that I can be great at that. Or we can see something that we're good at and decide that that may not be for us. But when you're designing the life that you want, you first have to make a decision.
For sure.
You know,
For sure. Next goal is to not do things I don't want to do. Like if I don't want to do it, I want to get rid of the having to do things. Obviously, you're still gonna have to take the garbage out. I mean, maybe
not really.
maybe I get to the point where people take my garbage out
Out for
for
you.
me,
Mm-hmm.
as long as I'm employing somebody and giving them an opportunity. But I don't need that sort of stuff. That's never been what I've chased. I've showed up here in very plain clothes. You'll see me in suits, but they're from the thrift shop. Like I have ridiculous financial discipline, so
I get it.
it's
As I
hard
show
to
you,
do.
$30 sneakers.
No, I was gonna throw on the Jordans because I remember from the hip hop awards when you had I don't remember exactly what shoes you had on, but like I was standing there with you and Quesa and I had some um had something corny on.
But what's so funny? I know what you're talking about. Hip hop awards. I had on some green and white Terminators.
See, he knows.
$40.
There you
Like
go.
I won't. So they talking about financial discipline. You
Yeah.
know, if a sneaker costs more than $50, I don't own it. You know what I mean? Because it's I can get
You
all
gotta
this in
like
me.
you gotta make decisions between which shoes you're gonna wear,
No,
or you got like ones that match with.
I have something for everything. I'm from Harlem. We like we're
I know
pretty.
somebody. Shout out to Evan Robinson. He's like that too. He's
Yeah,
like he's a match.
for
No,
everything.
I purposely get colors that match with everything, so I don't. I want to make less decisions. And this is a real thing.
No,
Like it's
like
a real thing.
even right. So even down to today's
Yeah.
outfit, the shoes match the shirt. Even when I had to change that, and then I was like, okay, gonna put on the black shorts. So I put on the white and black hat, so it matches everything else. Everything ties together. You know what I mean? So yeah,
I'm gonna have to think about that, man.
Uh,
When you hire me to do a brand, trust me, we're gonna be like, okay, like the chartreuse goes with the royal purple. We're gonna get the scientific color down.
mm-hmm,
Like I really take that seriously. It's not just something that I do. Like I've taught at a college level
mm-hmm,
design and stuff, and that's the thing. I think. Thank you for allowing me on your platform to discuss that side because some of that stuff can't be said in a post.
mm-hmm.
You don't sound approachable. You don't sound the stuff. But it's funny because people message me and say, "Look, I know it's hard to hire you." I'm like, "Okay, so if I give that era of scarcity out, maybe I'm not just making it up. Like I'm not pretending to not be available. I really have the next few months lined up. Not that I can't take on more projects, but I at least know if I didn't and just worked on what's there, I have a little runway to invest and maintain. So that's worth praying tonight in gratitude and giving thanks to God.
Mm-hmm.
I think so.
Because you have created the life that you wanted. See, and that's so great to say, right? You don't have to create the life that I want. You don't have to create the life that, you know, any of our listeners want.
Hmm.
When we design the life, we have to design the life that we want to live, right? And then
For
live
sure.
that truth. You know, I only do what I want to do when I want to do it. You know, even in places where I've already committed, I'll sit my butt down and do it when I'm
Hmm.
ready. You know what I mean? Cause like you said, that's a freedom. You know, I was raised where I didn't have choice. What my mother said went. You know, I had to
Hmm.
remind my mother today I'm 50. I do what I want. It's like,
Hmm.
how long have you been doing that? 36 years.
Hmm.
Like, I've been doing what I want since I was 14. I didn't realize that it was the wrong thing to do until I was later. Now, later in life, I realized I can do what I want to do all the right ways in all the right spaces. You don't have to sell drugs to live wealthy, right? You don't have to, buy uh the most expensive shoes to look nice. You know, I can
For
dress in a
sure.
room and probably have on a $30 outfit, and my $30 outfit will look more expensive than your $200 outfit because I know where to shop, how to shop, and I have money discipline. Right? Still have all the name brands, Polo, Guess, you name it, I got it. But I got it at a discounted price.
Yeah, I got if not thrift store, I got a lot of stuff gifted for whatever reason. I've been in a position where contracts are like ties anymore. You want like 30 silk ties. Sure, I'll keep water away from them, but it's cool, man. You got to put me on some of the spots. I love thrifting.
Yeah,
Get some name brand stuff. But anything else you
yeah,
want to do before we
yeah.
land the
Before
plane?
we leave, because we're coming up to the closure of our show, we're gonna end our show. I'm gonna ask you to end our show the way everyone has ended it. So that's by reciting my personal manifesto. We'll do it more in call and response because it's very long and
Okay.
hard to remember. So I'm going to say it all the way through, and then we'll do the call and response. So my personal manifesto goes like this: I love me. I'm worthy. Some people may not like me, but I don't care because the people that matter will be glad that I'm here. So I'm going to do the call and response.
Mhm.
I love me.
I love me.
I'm worthy.
I'm worthy.
Some people may not like me,
Some people may not like me.
but I don't care
I don't care
because the people that matter
because the people that matter
will be glad that I'm here.
will be glad that I'm here.
Yes, and we were glad that you spent this hour with us, Tony the designer.
Yeah,
We were
definitely,
glad
man.
that you were able to talk about designing the life that you like. We were glad that we were able to show the other side of you because most people don't know how deep and how amazing you are. I was glad that I was able to talk about my big boy Jaden, and you
Yeah.
allowed me to share even that part. So we were just grateful that you took the time to spend some time with us. So we have
Yeah,
next
man.
week, we have another amazing guest. I'm going to keep that on hush until you see her. But we're going to give Tony the opportunity to have the last word.
All right. Let's see. We could just close this. Funny when you said what every guest did, I thought you were gonna say. I would say the biggest thing that's helped me in designing the life is giving it up to God, knowing that I'm working through Him. Um, He's working through me. It takes all the pressure away. All the
Mm-hmm.
pressure of I have to be this, I have to be Superman and do this. No, God will give you the cross that you can bear. He won't give you a cross you can't bear. And if I ever have to wonder if I'm on the right path, that's the aligning factor. So align with whatever. You don't have to believe in God. You just have to believe what you're doing is your purpose, and your soul will be happy then.
In the immortal words of George Michael, you just got to have faith. So
All
this is
right,
Pat
peace.
Simpson saying peace. See y'all next week.
Our appointment was 3 days ago.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not calling you right before. It's just not a priority
Yeah,
right now.
yeah. You're gonna when you ignore me, I ignore you. Just for a moment, because it's about setting your foot down. You know, because if they don't respect you, who will? You know
Well,
what I
if
mean?
I'm not, if I, sorry, what's it? Oh, I thought you were talking to me.
I'm listening to.
No, like if I was just not busy, like sometimes it's not a matter of prices. It's not like I'm just avoiding prices. Literally going to work there.
I can. That's why I always tell people, please don't ever cross me, because you'll never give me you want back. Like, I am the most petty, the most vindictive, and I can remember everything. Like, it's so horrible. Like, I am so bad, bro. Like, and because I still remember things from being like 2 years old. Because my best friend in life, we've been friends since we were 2 years old. Right. 48 years later, like, we're still talking about stuff that I did. So,
Well, careful.
thank you. Yeah, dog. Gonna pull it to eat down here. Uh, the cheapest thing to eat down is probably gonna be across